Ragasa's fury is a warning shot nature is escalating and our window for action is closing. The choices we make today about energy, about resilience, about how we care for our communities will determine whether Ragasa is remembered as a rare catastrophe or as the new normal of a dangerous future. This storm will pass. The question is, will we learn from it? If this story moved, you don't just scroll past. Thousands of soldiers and firefighters were deployed. Meteorologists warned that the storm's massive circulation blanketed the entire Pearl River Delta, China's economic powerhouse. Areas of the Pearl River Delta could face flooding not seen in decades. As Ragasa's eye moved closer to land, residents braced for the full. Fire brigades carried out rescues in waist-deep water while police cordoned off bridges swaying under hurricane-force gusts. Tens of thousands of emergency personnel were mobilized, rescue boats deployed, and makeshift shelters set up in stadiums and schools. Spinning violently over the South China Sea. Prepared go bags with flashlights, medicine, and dry food. As Ragasa left the Philippines in ruins, southern China moved into full crisis mode. Volunteers organized neighborhood patrols and rescue drills. For millions, the question wasn't if disaster would strike, but how devastating it would be. And economic disruption could ripple across Asia and the global supply chain. Now the strongest storm ever recorded is slamming into southern China in Chaozhou. A roof was torn from an apartment block, injuring several residents. Halted construction sites shut down and commerce frozen. Packed while supermarkets overflowed with panic buyers. Coast Guard patrols enforced a strict ban on maritime activity, ordering every vessel to port. Still, fear spread faster than the rain, transformed into rivers, homes rattling like tin cans in the wind. The Philippine government ordered thousands of families to leave their homes, often with little more than what they could carry. Schools shut down, flights were grounded, and entire streets went silent. Like this video, subscribe to our channel and share it so more people understand what's at stake. Every click helps spread awareness of the storms reshaping our world. Closed businesses, shuttered public transportation, sustained winds reaching 185 miles per hour, and gusts topping 183 miles per hour. This is far beyond the scale of most Atlantic hurricanes, earning Ragasa the chilling title, the King of Winds. Before reaching China, Ragasa devastated the northern Philippines, ripping metal. On the Babuyan Islands and northern Luzon, winds screamed at more than 170 miles per hour, turning entire coastal towns into war zones. Waves over 13 feet high pounded fishing villages, smashing boats like toys and forcing mass evacuations. Flooded cities damaged infrastructure, food shortages. Entire villages were left without power, roads turned into rivers, and communities cut off from the outside world. Now the monster storm is racing toward Guangdong province, China's industrial heartland, threatening tens of millions of people, coastal cities, and vital trade routes. For residents, it feels less like a storm warning and more like a countdown to disaster. Before Ragasa threatened China, it unleashed chaos across the northern Philippines. These are not distant tragedies. Stadiums were converted into mass shelters. Meanwhile, soldiers, police, and firefighters fanned out across the region. As the winds of Ragasa tear across Asia, the images are impossible to ignore. Roofs from homes hurling waves more than 13 feet high and forcing thousands of families to flee with only minutes to spare. The scale of China's mobilization was staggering. Power grids collapsed, plunging vast areas into darkness. Cell service and internet lines went dead. Stay informed. Stay prepared. High-speed rail lines across Guangdong screeched to a stop. The storm didn't just knock things down, it tore our lives apart. One survivor said it was like the end of the world, and livelihoods torn apart in a single night. Over 200 emergency teams, 14 rescue vessels, and 10 coastal villages stacked sandbags and reinforced rooftops. Satellite images showed Ragasa's eye perfectly circular. September 23, 2025. Super Typhoon Ragasa. Prepare for a major disaster. Do not be complacent. Those stark words reflected the scale of the threat. Air within hours. Gas stations reported long lines as drivers rushed to fill their tanks before the storm hit. The province looked like a ship sealing its hatches before a tidal wave. Pushing communities and governments to their limits. For millions of families in Guangdong and beyond survival, scientists cautioned that Ragasa's speed made the situation even more dangerous. Racing at nearly 16 miles per hour, the storm gave cities far less time to prepare. Combined with tidal peaks and swollen rivers, experts warned that low-lying 125 million people raised the typhoon emergency response to its highest level. Violent hailstorms across northern China and record-shattering rain in Europe. Windows shattered, families huddled together in candlelit basements. Across the The question isn't whether humanity can survive these storms. The question is whether we will adapt fast enough to prevent the worst outcomes. Winds screamed through the streets of Zhuhai and Jiangmen at more than 180 miles per hour, ripping branches from trees and hurling debris like missiles, as 30 feet predicted in the Taiwan Strait and the Gulf of Tonkin. Fury of what many called the storm of the century. Families reinforced windows with plywood, moved cars to higher ground, and it's not just about enduring the storm, it's about facing what comes next. Coastal cities from Zhuhai to Chaozhou braced for impact. The atmosphere on the ground grew tense. Super Typhoon Ragasa is more than a natural disaster. Rain fell in blinding sheets, flooding roads within minutes. Emergency hotlines lit up with more than 5,000 calls in just a few hours. It is a sobering reflection of the era we live in. Each year, storms grow stronger, wetter. They are warnings of what a changing planet means for all of us. Meteorologists described Ragasa as unlike anything in living memory, a storm so massive. Officials announced the so-called 5 suspension schools. Airlines canceled flights. By the time Ragasa left the Philippines, entire communities were in ruins, an ominous preview of what awaited southern China and shifting climate patterns. Ragasa is not an isolated tragedy. It is part of a disturbing global trend. In recent months alone, we've witnessed historic floods in Thailand, across Guangdong, and neighboring provinces including Guangxi, Fujian, Jiangxi, and Hunan. Some areas were expected to receive more than 8 to 12 inches of rain in a single day, raising fears of catastrophic. By the early hours of September 23rd, Ragasa's outer bands slammed into Guangdong's coastline. We cannot stop the storms from forming, but River Delta, one of the world's most densely populated regions, life stood still. Its circulation covered an area larger than the entire state of California. In Shantou, storm surges surged past seawalls, swallowing entire fishing docks. On September 22nd, authorities in Guangdong province, home to more than 100. For many, a crackling transistor radio was the only connection to the outside world, and taking seriously the science that has been warning us for decades. Most importantly, it means recognizing our shared responsibility, and faster, fueled by warming oceans, families huddled in shelters, cities under water homes, and flash floods. Along the coast, storm surges threaten to push the South China Sea inland with waves as tall near 185 miles per hour, tearing across open water. From September 23 to 26, forecasts warned of relentless rainfall across. We can decide how prepared we are when they arrive. That means demanding stronger infrastructure. Its winds rivaled a Category 5 Atlantic hurricane but pushed far beyond with gusts. In Batanes, emergency crews went door to door urging people to head for higher ground. Still, some residents refused, terrified of losing everything they owned. Videos flooded social media. Cars overturned by the wind, storefront wave. Loudspeakers in Zhuhai blasted non-stop, with sustained winds near 185 miles per hour and higher gusts. Ragasa was on course to deliver a direct hit. For Guangdong, time was running out. Supporting disaster readiness, now Ragasa stands as the most violent storm in modern history. Scientists warn that as oceans continue to heat up, storms like Ragasa will no longer be once-in-a-century events. They may become regular features of our future. Shelves of bottled water, canned food, and batteries were stripped. Witnesses described scenes of terra sheet metal flying through the air. Roads